All right. 65. Those jests also lie in words which spring from some allegorical phraseology, or from a metaphorical use of some one word, or from using words ironically. From allegorical phraseology, as when Ruska in old times proposed the law to fix the ages of candidates for offices, and Marcus Servilus, who opposed the law, said to him, "Tell me, Marcus Penaris Ruska, if I speak against you, will you speak ill of me, as you have spoken of others? As you shall sow," replied he, "so you shall reap." From the use of a single word in a metaphorical sense, as when the elder Scipio said to the Corinthians, who offered to put up a statue of him in the place where those of other commanders were, that he did not like such comrades. From the ironical use of words, as when Crassus spoke for Aculio before Marcus Perpernia as judge, and Lucius Ilius Lama appeared for Gratidanius against Aculico, and Lama, who was deformed, as you know, offered impertinent interruptions. Crassus said, "Let us hear this beautiful youth." When a laugh followed, "I could not form my own shape," said Lama, "but I could form my understanding." Then Crassus, "Let us hear this able orator." When a greater laugh than before ensued. Such jests are agreeable as well in grave as in humorous speeches, for I observed a little while ago that the subjects for jest and for gravity are distinct, but that the same form of expression will serve for grave remarks as for jokes. Words antithetically used are a great ornament to language, and the same mode of using them is often humorous. Thus, when the well-known Servius Galba carried to Lucius Serbonius, the tribune, a list of his own intimates to be appointed as judges, and Lebo said, "What, Galba, will you never go out of your own dining room?" "Yes," replied Galba, "when you go out of other men's bedchambers." To this kind of joke, the saying of Glossia to Metellus is not very dissimilar. "You have your villa at Tibur, but your court on Mount Palatine." 61. Such kinds of jokes as lie in words I think that I have now sufficiently discussed, but such as relate to things are more numerous and excite more laughter, as I observed before. Among them is narrative a matter of exceeding difficulty, for such things are to be described and set before the eyes as may seem to be probable, which is the excellence of narration, and such also are grotesque, which is the peculiar providence of the ridiculous. For an example, as the shortest that I recollect, let that serve, which I mentioned before, the story of Crassus about Memmius. To this head we may assign the narratives given in fables. Allusions are also drawn from history, as when Sextus Titius said he was a Cassandra. "I can name," said Antonius, "many of your Ajaces Oli." Such jests are also derived from similitudes, which include either comparison or something of bodily representation. A comparison, as when Gallus, that was once a witness against Piso, said that a countless sum of money had been given to Magius, the governor, and Scarius tried to refute him by alleging the poverty of Magius. "You mistake me, Scarius," said he, "for I do not say that Magius has saved it, but that, like a man gathering nuts without his clothes, he has put it into his belly." Or as when Marcus Cicero the elder, the father of that excellent man, our friend, said that the men of our times were like the Syrian slaves. The more Greek they knew, the greater knaves they were. Representations also Representations also create much laughter, and these commonly bear upon some deformity or bodily defect, with a comparison to something still more deformed, as my own saying on Helvius Mancia, I will now show, said I, what sort of man you are, when he exclaimed, show us, I pray you, and I pointed with my finger to a Gaul represented upon the Cimbrian shield of Marius under the new shops in the Forum, with his body distorted, his tongue lolling out, and his cheeks flabby. A general laugh ensued, for nothing was ever seen to resemble Mancia so much, or, as I said to the witness Titus Panarius, who twisted his chin about while he was speaking, that he might speak, if he pleased, if he had done cracking his nut. If he had done cracking his nut. There are jokes, too, from things beyond extenuated or exaggerated hyperbolically, and to astonish, as you, Crassius, said in a speech to the people, that Memmus fancied himself so great a man that as he came into the Forum, he stooped his head at the arch of Fabius, of which kind is the saying also that Scipio is reported to have uttered at Numantia when he was angry with Metellus, that if his mother were to produce a fifth, she would bring forth an ass. There is also frequently a cuteness shown when something obscure and not commonly known is illustrated by a slight circumstance, and often by a single word, as when Publius Cornelius, a man as was suspected of a covetous and rapacious disposition, but of great courage and of able commander, thanked Caius Fabricius for having, though he was his enemy, made him consul, especially during a difficult and important war. You have no reason to thank me, returned Fabricius, if I had rather be pillaged than sold for a slave. Or, as Africanus said to Asellus, who objected to him that unfortunate lustration in his censorship, do not wonder, for he who restored you to the rights of a citizen compelled the lustration and sacrificed the bull. There was a tactic suspicion that Mummus seemed to have laid the state under the necessity of expiation by removing the mark of ignominy from Asellus.